Hi, I'm Kurt Smith, and welcome to App Talks, a series of conversations with Salesforce.com customers on how using business apps from the App Exchange can help you manage all aspects of your business. We're here today with King O, Director of Systems and Solutions from GLOBALFOUNDRIES, to talk about how using Apttus apps allow GLOBALFOUNDRIES to translate really complex customer product requirements into a streamlined and efficient manufacturing process. Welcome to App Talks, King.
Hi, Kurt.
Let's start off. Can you tell me a little bit about GLOBALFOUNDRIES?
Absolutely. GlobalFoundries is a semiconductor manufacturing company. We have facilities around the world, manufacturing sites in Dresden, Germany, Singapore, and our newest one in Malta, New York. Our particular focus and unique capabilities in manufacturing is really focused on manufacturing custom products for our customers. The big difference is that most semiconductor companies are just making their own parts. We are actually making our customers' parts.
And what led you to find Salesforce and Apttus? How did you get there?
Well, what's interesting is that in 2012, we were assessing various capabilities and technologies about a customer portal. We had to do a revamp of our customer portal, and we're looking at various tools and applications to enable us to do that. At that particular time, we were thinking about having a customer portal that was very flashy and had a lot of multimedia. Coming from marketing, my concept of a customer portal was that, hey, let's get the customers in there and stuck in there. But then we had an aha moment. We recognized that we are a part of the supply chain of our customers. We are an extension of the customer's business process. So usually in a business process, people don't want to be going into a site or application and then spending a lot of time there. They just want to get in, do their job, and get out. Go watch a baseball game, do something other than spend time on the portal. So having that aha moment really led us to a certain decision process in deciding what was a priority of that portal. And we came to the conclusion that we wanted collaboration. And because collaboration was really about the engagement with the customers, our design cycle with the customers can last anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. And the amount of information that we transfer back and forth to the customer is tremendously deep and tremendously immense. So having a capability to really communicate with the customer through a collaborative manner was a very critical function of that portal. So that led us to a decision that of all the different portal capabilities out there, Salesforce really had the right vision and the right technology to really drive towards collaboration, not just the publishing element. And so that's a company that we wanted to be part of. So we made a decision to use the customer portal using the Salesforce community, one of the first customers to use the community. We already had a CRM tool, and we had to come to this conclusion as to what we're going to do with CRM. Should we just use our existing CRM, or should we just move to Salesforce, because Salesforce already has a very powerful CRM that's #1 in the market. So we started to think about it. We took a bite in the bullet and said, okay, let's just go ahead and move our CRM processes into Salesforce. And we did that. It took us about 6 weeks to move the base capabilities of that functions in CRM into Salesforce, and then that really started the development of the platform. So for us, it's really about creating that platform to be able to integrate the customer information, which is in the CRM, and the customer portal, and understanding those interactions along with that data set, so that we could really have a holistic picture of that customer and each one of those engagement with the customer. So a couple of key things that we want to be able to do with this customer portal. #1 is that we need to make sure that we had secure access for that portal. So you can imagine, we're concerned about the sensitivity of our information, but we were also very interested in making sure that the information between customers was not shared. So, for example, if you're a customer A, you don't want your WIP report, for example, to be shared with customer B. So having a segmentation of that information is a very critical element. So in order to come up with a solution, we actually looked at one of the apps partners that you had, Apttus. Apttus has a tool to manage agreements. And so we actually converted our NDA process, which was in a custom developed application, very, very difficult to use. A lot of account managers just cannot even find the application in our portal to even start the process. But that process should take several weeks. we're able to take the Apttus agreement capabilities, put it onto top of Salesforce, and use that to manage the customer's access to our systems, but also have an easy-to-use capability for the salesperson. So from an application standpoint, they're actually able to close and get the NDA completed in less than half a day.
Wow.
Or it used to take several weeks, they get the NDA in place in half a day, and the customer can start accessing our information that same day. So you can imagine getting a call in the morning and say, hey, I need to access your most sensitive data. We're able to process the NDA, provision those customers, and they can get access that same day. Totally amazing.
That is amazing. Can we go a little bit deeper and just tell me a little bit more of these results? So faster time to market, better customer control, and more interaction with your customers. And what else have you seen?
Yeah, so it's really about the customer and how to manage that engagement with the customer. Because one of the interesting challenges with our customers is that we're in the hardware business, and the hardware business has some unique challenges versus, for example, services or software business. If you think about hardware business, our cycles as far as manufacturing products, handheld products, consumer products, they're all dependent on various cycles. The Christmas sale is a huge cycle. If you miss one Christmas sale, that can destroy an entire company. I mean, companies have gone out of business because they miss one Christmas cycle. So the premise of having the time to market for that particular customer is critically important. So we need to be able to engage with that customers and eliminate every number of days, every minute, as much as possible. So reducing the NDA was one of the key elements of getting them access to our technology so they could design towards it. The other part of it is that since we're a custom manufacturing house, the customers have specific requirements for their products that they need to assess or capability to manufacture it. In the past, that process called configuring the process used to take weeks because our rule sets to determine what can be manufactured is in a document. It's a 500-page PDF document the customer has to read through and now analyze and say, okay, I can build it to these rule sets. Now, you can imagine a customer trying to go through these various iterations. So they will give us the requirements, we will take a look at this, and we will make sure that the requirements can match our manufacturing by sending that information of that requirement to our engineers. Because from a mistake standpoint, we don't want to allow anybody to process that request for proposal coming from the customer because, again, the mistakes that are done in hardware get magnified because there's no recall, there's no patches. Either you build it right or you don't build it right. It's very binary. So we send it to our best engineers with all the intellectual intelligence to be able to process that information. And that processing takes time because it's an interruption of that engineer's time. Instead of running the fabs or developing new processes, he now needs to take a break and then process this proposal. And that used to take a couple weeks. The key difference was that there was no automation in that process. And one of the things that we want to do is automate that process so that instead of customers interacting with the engineers, we can take that engineer's intelligence and put it into a system and the customer can interact with that system. So it was that whole changing concept. In order to be able to do that, we looked at a company called Apttus. We were looking for a configuration tool to take that mapping of the algorithm from these design manuals, put it in a system that was easy to administer, and allow the customers to engage with that. So now, what we did was that we took a pilot, we took 4 technologies, and we configured the tool out using the Apttus, and we were able to do a couple things. Number one, we're able to validate the concept because we had these concepts that the intelligence could actually be placed into the system, but we weren't able to validate in the past. So we actually did some validations. What we did was that after building it out, we took the manual process results and then we took the Apttus configuration results. And obviously the manual process took much longer time, 2 weeks to get done. The manual process took minutes, literally minutes. So we saw efficiency and productivity there, but also we really want to analyze the results to make sure that the results was correct. And then we actually did notice that there were some mismatches. As we started to dig deeper, what were those mismatches? Why are they happening? I mean, our thought process is like, this should be exact. What we discovered was that there were information in those design manuals that were actually incorrect or people were using the wrong versions of the design manuals to come up with the manual process. So those mismatches were caused by the incorrectness of the design manual. So we were able to detect these things out. The other thing was that people were interpreting some of those rules differently. So you can imagine you read a 500-page document, people are going to get different things out of it depending on how they interpret that. I mentioned before we work around the world, so we have people with different language skill sets. All these design manuals are written in English. English may not be their primary language. So that interpretation led to some differences in mistakes. So now we're able to see that the Apttus tool not only provide productivity, but also consistency of the results. So we're able to fix the design manuals because we're able to detect those mistakes, but the other part is that we don't leave things out for human interpretation.
So King, one of the things that we're super passionate about at Salesforce is peer-to-peer learning and sharing.
Yes.
So can you give me, if you were interviewing me, what
Right.
would be the top 3 tips you could give me?
Yes. I think that the first thing is establish a vision. Because that vision of what you expect from a tool or application or capability is really going to guide your decision process along the way. I mean, when we first came up with the concept of having a customer portal, we had a certain vision. And then as we started to go through that assessment process, we actually recognized that that vision really wasn't the vision that was critical to our customers. So we actually had to reset that vision. Once we reset that vision, we knew exactly where we wanted to target at the end of the day. That guided all the rest of our decision process. So I would say the number one item is have a vision of where you want to be. The second item is really about, do you want to build or buy? I think when we go through that process, every company can say, oh, if we throw enough resources, we can build anything. And the question is that the right thing for the company? If you're a software company and that's your core competency, then maybe that is the right decision. In our particular case, we recognize that software is complementing our operations. We're not going to build and resell these software products that we're building. We're just going to use it internally. So is the return on investment really there if we actually just build it? And the innovation that comes along with it. There's a lot of capabilities that we're discovering within Salesforce, within the Apttus tools, that we could never have thought of by ourselves. So being able to just leverage that capability in other people's R&D and other people's ideas has a huge amount of benefits. So that decision to make or buy actually guides your process as well. And the final thing really is about getting alignment. So when you go through the process, it's not about just the software itself, but aligning the business processes so that they actually work with the tools. Getting alignment with our engineers was a critical function to say, hey, listen, instead of you having to entertain a quote every single time it comes in, wouldn't it be great if you could actually encapsulate that information at the beginning of that process? And then when the customers come in, we can process it without interrupting you and your development process. So having that change concept part of your discussion cycle is very important, because if you don't have buy-in, then all of a sudden you can have the best tool in the world and you just won't see that adoption.
Absolutely. Well, King, thanks so much. I really enjoyed chatting with you today. And thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you on the next App Talks.